All right, it's setting up. Here we go. Oh, yeah, there we are. All right. Put it on Twitter so the pillagers know. There we go. All right. What's up, guys? This is all right. This is the Pillaging Podcast. Welcome. If this looks different to you guys, it is. As you know, we're in the self quarantine right now. We're in the self isolation, stay at home, and everybody here is respecting those wishes and orders. So we put it together on Zoom for y'all. So let's get started. Hold on, let me record here. All right, welcome to the show, everybody. This is Kenny Stapler. It's a cold open. We're not doing the intro. It would not be proper. We don't have the cast of characters assembled as we normally do. But that doesn't mean we can't give you a show. So here we are. Shout out to those people that found us on YouTube. Raider Rich and Roach already up in the chat, and the link just went up like 30 seconds ago. So shout out to you guys. Here we are, man. This is a little bit different. Like I just said, we're not together. Everyone here is respecting the stay-at-home orders. And so that's what we're doing. But we managed a way to put it together, to keep the live stream going. And we're back by popular demand. Well, maybe not completely popular, depending on who you talk to. But we're back.
Yeah, some of y'all motherfuckers.
But we're back either way. And we are live on YouTube today. So I will say, I do want to say, I want to give a special shout out to Mark Soto and Kenneth McCardell. Their donations actually helped us upgrade our Zoom account to enable the live streaming. So it's because of you guys that we're doing this right now. And that's no joke. This, like I say, every dollar counts, and this goes to show exactly what I mean by that. So, but anyways, welcome back. We're, again, this is a little bit different. We're under different circumstances. We had to rebuild the show a little bit, but if you guys are Raider fans, you're familiar with the rebuild. So here we are.
You might see another fucking 5 before the end of the month.
Pete, what up? What up? And I got to remind Shay to keep it clean for the first 10 minutes here.
Yeah. Sorry. I messed that up right off the bat, right?
Yeah, you did. So let's go around the horn really quick. As you guys know, I'm Kenny Stapler, and we got everybody assembled here for the full show. So, Kane, why don't you introduce yourself, my man?
I'm Kane in the house. What's happening, y'all? Good to see everybody out there.
Yeah, your boy Che, right out his house.
And Bobby Wasabi over here, just hanging out with my pup and just chilling and cooking. That's all we doing.
There you go. What? That's what we have to get into that talk here pretty soon.
We will.
But first things first, right?
Roach wants to know what's up with all the hats. He says we all got that quarantine hairdo.
Yeah,
right,
that's
we do.
Yes, for sure.
I mean, if y'all want to see it, look. It's
Ooh.
all those extra greñas. I gotta, keep it under wrap. It took me forever to find a comb too.
You're looking like Bob from La Bamba right now.
That's why, dog. Fuck, I was talking to my mom's. I was like, I think I'm gonna have to bring that style back when all this is over.
Raider
you
Nug
gotta get that Harley, bro.
Welcome to the chat, Raider Nug. So that's the cast characters right there. It's our Merry Bandits ready to pillage another podcast. Let's get this thing started. First off, I want to take this time to let everyone know One Nation Fanwear does have pillaging hats up now at onenationfanwear.com. All you got to do is go to the hats section, available in dad hats with the strap back and snapbacks, which is what I'm wearing right now. I'm wearing the Proudly Hated hat. Bobby's got the pillaging hat on. If you're one of the few that ordered the first round of hats and you got a hat, there was something wrong with those. They look pretty good, but the stitching wasn't up to standards. One Nation Fanwear stands behind their work. They were not happy, so they will be sending out replacement hats shortly. You should be getting that within a week or two. So you guys are getting brand new hats free of charge. You can use that other pillaging hat to paint the garage or do something like that with it.
Paint the garage.
It's a comfortable work hat, honestly, man. That's why I ended up buying two. I was like, I want to have one just to rock and then have a work hat. But I was like, hey, you know what? I got a couple work hats now, so shit.
Yeah, you can have it as your grilling hat, man. Use it as your grilling hat.
That's right.
That way you don't smoke out the other one.
Ain't nothing wrong with smoking out everyone, dog. What are you talking about?
But Bobby makes a good point. They are very comfortable. I wear my proudly hated hat every single day. I don't really rock the new era hats anymore. I like the fit of these. They're a little bit smaller. I like the brim, and they fit my big ass head really nice. And I like them. So there you go.
There you go.
Go check out One Nation Fanwear. A lot of great gear on there. We plug them all the time, but the quality of the materials is what sets them apart from everyone else. Not to mention the super slick, fresh designs. So if you're a fan of the Raiders, you're a fan of pop culture, you're going to enjoy what you see over at onenationfanwear.com. And they, like I said, they stand behind their work. So get after it, y'all. All right, so let's get things really started here. Let's take a look at the GROAT vote of the week.
Oh,
actually,
shit.
I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm slipping over here. I really am. I really am.
Since we're just thrown off by the changes, bro. Okay,
It's the excitement. It's the excitement of being on live again, bro. That's what it is.
Before we crack open another podcast, we must crack open a few chelas.
That's right,
Che,
man.
why don't you start us off, man?
Let me see. I'm gonna get this close to the. I don't know if you guys got that crack there. It was pre-cracked though. It was like already kind of. I had started to get into it. I was getting anxious, man. So this right here, I'm gonna pour this out here. Little bit of foam. We got this Stone Enjoy by, and that's the 420, right? Enjoy by 420 IPA, man. And this bad boy is coming in at 9.4 on your ABV. So it'll get you right real quick. I love the Enjoy Buys, man. Ever since Stone started putting them out, I've been a big fan. So I always make sure to go out there and get one. They have the Enjoy After also, which is really good, but it's a lot more like it usually is a little bit more heavy, a little more concentrated on the flavor. It tastes like it's coming out of like oak barrels and stuff.
That Enjoy Before, that's an annual tradition for them. That's Lagunitas, is that correct?
This is Stone, bro.
Stone, that's a Stone.
This is Stone. So Stone, like I think I've gone through the history. This is a little glare there. I can't really show you the can, but when I was out in San Diego, prior to moving out to San Diego, I didn't really drink a whole lot of craft brews, man. I didn't even know what a craft brew was, right? I was drinking that same old fucking Modelo time that everybody else was drinking.
Che was drinking Smirnoff Ice.
Nah, never that. But when I got out there, the closest thing to a craft brew was like a Dos Equis Amber, or like stuff like that. And then my cousin, he was super big into Stone, and he introduced me to Arrogant Bastard. And then little by little, I just became a craft brew guy. And now I don't really drink anything else but the good stuff, as far as I'm concerned. So this Stone right here, though, but this is everything that you want in a beer that's called Enjoy by 420 IPA. It's hoppy like a motherfucker. It's perfect. It's crisp, and like I said, it bangs. It has that 9.4. It's gonna get you right.
There you go. This should be an interesting show.
Hell yeah, especially with the 9.4.
How many of those you got on deck, Che?
I only got one, actually, man. I'm not gonna lie. I had a 6-pack. But this is the last of the 6-pack.
That 6-pack did not make it to the Enjoy by Dave.
No, I didn't make it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it before, though, man. I did what I was supposed to.
There you go. To be fair, tomorrow's a work day anyway, so get those out of the way now. Enjoy them when you can on your leisure time.
That's right.
Bobby, what you got on deck, man? I know you're sitting on something.
Oh hell yeah! I got me a Sudworks Funhouse Paloma Sour, and you know how we like our sours, Kenny.
There you go.
It's funny, everybody. I picked these up, got them to the house, put them in the fridge, and I kid you not, I get a text from Kenny saying my ears are ringing, and I was like, God damn, how'd you know I got some fucking sours? They were tasty, and I'm not gonna lie, definitely addition to the list.
My ears were ringing because I've been cooking up some new music for the podcast. We got a new intro coming to you guys, so when you do hear it, brace yourself. Let go of the old, embrace the new. And we'll debut that for you guys when we get back in studio. We'll do it proper. So we got some new music. We got some new graphics. That's not what you come here for. You come here for the talk. Kane, are you drinking? What do you got?
Yeah, I'm drinking a hazy little thing IPA. Sierra Nevada.
Classic. That's a good beer right there.
Yeah, man, you can't go wrong with that.
I was drinking those in the Space Dust at the Garlic Festival last year.
Ooh.
Nice.
Before
You were feeling good after that.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
The Space Dust is smacking, though.
Mm-hmm.
Space Dust is good.
Yeah. All right, man. Is that complete our Chela segment for the day?
Yeah, bro. I mean, I'm sure there'll be some more later on, but
when I see Che put the keg hose in his mouth, I know we're on official.
I mean, what we need to do though, I think I was talking about this in the group chat. We need to invest in a kegerator for the Crow's Nest, bruh. We need to invest in a kegerator for the Crow's Nest, and then we could spend wisely and buy ourselves a nice little keg of our favorite brew, have it on tap,
a little pony keg
all the time. That's right.
Nice. Yeah, we can do that. We're gonna be making some changes here to the Crow's Nest too. Give you guys some live in studio looks. It's just not very camera worthy right now. I will say you can get a sneak peek of it behind me right here if you squint and look very closely. But yeah, we're working. I'm working on some home improvement here and there as we do this. So let's cover this GROAT vote segment. We had another round of votes. We are slowly making our way through round one. It is a very large round. We have 64 names to get through. Some of these initial matchups are a bit lopsided, but we got to go through them. We got to go through them to get to what is likely to be a highly contested second round, in my opinion. I know some of these, they're like, why are you guys even matching these up? Because we're doing it the real way. We're doing it by the ranking. So when you
what are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
What are you supposed to do? Put the two number one picks against each other right in the first round? Come on now.
Yeah. Then what do we do for the rest of the summer? You know what I mean? So you get a number 4 Art Shell versus a number 12 Barrett Robbins. It's going to be a little bit lopsided. You feel me? So here's the results. Here's the results. And we could talk about this if you want. There's really maybe not a whole lot to talk about, but we got to give you the results. I said I would. So here they are. Our first matchup of the week was Dave Casper, ranked number 5, versus John Ritchie, who was ranked number 12. The results are in. The winner is Dave. The winner is Dave Casper with 92% of the votes. No big surprise there, fellas. What do you think?
No, that's not a surprise, man.
No. If you had to make a case for John Ritchie, Kane, what would you say for him?
He was a fan favorite at the time he was here. He was a tough son of a bitch. He had that thing with the helmet where he got the little blood dripping down. He looked like a maniac out there, a fullback maniac. I give him his props. He was a good fullback, but
yeah,
Dave Casper got that.
Legendary. That goes to the post.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's that goes to the post, man. And like you said, a lot of these matchups are going to be very lopsided. So a lot of them are going to get clear cut right away. But some of them you can definitely see why they're getting a little bit of extra votes here or there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking at the chat right now, guys. I do have the chat window open. It's really good to see a lot of you guys back in here. It's filling up right now. We got Austin Leplin there, AJ DeMello, shout out. Pete, what's up, Pete? We had a little text exchange earlier. Big D-Knox up in the house. Mojo Pod Show in there. We also got the original Mojo Raider from pj4f.com. Got to give you the credit, Mojo. You've been on that handle for years now. So credit where credit's due. No disrespect to the Mojo Pod Show. Make sure you check it out. Raider Ben, what's up, man? It's good to see you too, dog. Man, I had a good time with you at the tailgate. That was rad. And that's where we're at right now. So as more people filter in, we'll give some shout outs. Go ahead and send me your questions and comments. I'll do my best to keep up with them. Got a lot on my plate right now. So, but I'm happy. I'm happy for that. This is awesome. The second vote we had this week was Art Shell, ranked number 4, versus Barrett Robbins at number 12. I half expected Barrett Robbins to get more votes than he did. Not to say that he was going to win, but he got like 10 votes total. And I only say that because I know some of y'all are young. You remember Barrett Robbins. I know a lot of people are sour on him for what happened. You have every right to be like that. But he was a fan favorite when he was here. And Bear Robbins and John Ritchie, both from that same squad. But no doubt about it, Art Shell getting 97% of the vote, a head coach for the Raiders twice.
The second vote we had this week was
My bad.
An incredible lineman for the Raiders for many years. Art Shell, ranked number 4. He will move on into the next round. So there you go. You got Art Shell and Dave Casper moving on. Let's take a sneak peek at what's coming up next week. So I'll tweet this out tomorrow. Tomorrow's matchups starting off, and it's going to run all week long on Twitter. And if you missed the post on Twitter, you can always go to pj4f.com. You can always vote Bear. Actually, over there, you can vote more than once, by the way. So if you're real passionate about something, feel free to do that. So next week's matchups are interesting because we got 2 coaches in the mix. The first pairing is Dave Dalby, ranked number 6, versus John Gruden at number 11. So
Nice.
I think this is interesting. I feel like Dave Dalby rightfully should move on. But will young Raider fans recognize the name Dave Dalby, or will they gravitate towards John Gruden? So this is what should be a lopsided matchup that may end up actually being closer than you think it is. What do you guys think about that? Am I accurate in that assumption, or is it going to be Dave Dalby all the way?
No, well, like you said, man, it's honestly a lot of short memory, the short attention span, man, and a lot of people just remember what happened as of late. A lot of people were very pumped to bring John Gruden back in, so because they remember what he did before. You bring up, like you said, the name of Dalby. Not a lot of people are going to know who he is. So I definitely see Gruden pulling out just a couple more votes on this one. It's going to be a close-up, but that's the reason why I see it.
What do you think about that, Kane?
I think it's, for me, Dave Dalby. You know, he won a Super Bowl with the Raiders, I believe 2. So without a doubt, you know, John Gruden brought some energy, some much needed energy at a time when it was needed, and you know, got us back to the promised land. Didn't quite get there, got snuffed out the snowball, but still the accomplishment. When I'm just going off accomplishments, I got to go with Dave Dalby. I remember Dave Dalby. So
yeah. I mean, one of many in a long line of great Raiders. So very interesting. Che, do you want to chime in on that?
I mean, I'm just gonna agree with Kane. I think if Gruden's second stint with the Raiders is as successful as we hope it will be, and he's able to lead us to the Super Bowl and hopefully a win at some point in the near future, then we can revisit this and maybe start to say maybe Gruden might take that position. But until then, right, all that we have is a little bit of success he had with us back in the 90s, early, you know, going into the 2000s, and he hasn't put enough on the table for us in the second stint. So it's a wait and see to see where John Gruden ends as far as his position in the long line of Raiders coaches, man.
Yeah, one of the members in the chat right now, and it looks like maybe a burner account. I don't know. The name is unreadable, but they wanted to remind us, and we don't need the reminder. We talked about this when ranking, but I do appreciate you reminding everyone else. Dave Dalby was the starting center on all 3 Super Bowl teams, and that's a fact, and that's exactly why he's on here. That's exactly why he's ranked as high as he is. But will others know that? Will others appreciate that? Or will they recognize that? So that's why this is an interesting matchup to me. Like I said, I think Dave Dalby should win this in a landslide, but John Gruden's got star power. So that's going to be an interesting one to watch.
Let me add to that. For John Gruden to even be close in this bet, in my opinion, he has to do what a player seeks out to do when he comes into the NFL. A player comes to the NFL to win a Super Bowl, a championship, an NFL championship. And a coach, I'm sure, does, coaches for the same aspect. He hasn't won a championship here. So we're voting Raiders. We're not voting Tampa Bay and he got a Super Bowl. We're voting
That's
Raiders.
Right.
And for Raiders, he hasn't won a Super Bowl here. Dave Dalby won 3 here as a center. I said 2. Obviously, I was wrong. 3. So there's no other choice but Dalby.
Absolutely.
Absolute facts.
Well, speaking of that absolute, Kane, you got that somewhere around there?
I got some Absolute, but I'm holding off for a little bit.
It's still early, man.
Yeah, it is.
Sorry for the pause right there. I looked over at the DAW and it looked like we weren't recording, and I panicked. But we are recording. Thank God. I was like, we're not starting this over. Good news. Yeah. So that's the first matchup next week. The second matchup for the week. This one should be a landslide, no doubt about it. It's John Madden, ranked number 3, versus the touchdown machine, Zach Crockett, number 14. With all due respect, Zach Crockett, you ain't winning this matchup. You are not winning this matchup.
Sorry, Zach. But we love you, though. We love you, though, man.
Facts.
So it's been interesting. Both this week and then next week, we have a lot of players, some coaches from that 2000 era Raider team. So it's good to see them in the brackets. Is definitely, I think, for the younger fans, probably the most beloved team that they've witnessed. Those of us that are a little bit longer in the tooth, it's a different story. But for some of y'all young ones, man, you're holding on to that. Now, I respect that. I appreciate that. I'm glad you got to at least see this team do some winning before, the last 20 years that we've been mired in. But hopefully that comes around. Hopefully that comes around, man. And that's what we're talking about next on this show. But we're going to be talking about the draft. But before that, I just wanted to open it up here to my co-hosts, ask you guys, again, check in with you. Are you guys still feeling sane? How is this shelter in place treating you guys? Bobby, how you feeling about all this, man?
I was telling you guys earlier, I went out to the store to go get some supplies, and it's kind of weird to get super pumped when you find like a big pack of toilet paper. I was like, wow, like is it like this now? Like this is like the ultimate of the day right now that I found this giant pack of toilet paper. It was like the good toilet paper too. It wasn't none of that half ply stuff. So
it was that Scott's, that thin ass fucking tissue paper, bro.
Oh, it was that Northern Quilter, bro. It was like there the Cadillac of the teepee, man. So yeah, my day's pretty solid, man. So I'm still good. Still able to go out and walk the dog and enjoy some chelas, adding the more stickers to the wall. So I'm glad seeing people catching on that too, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's cool. That's definitely cool. People are gonna have to they're gonna be tearing down their wallpaper and just have beer houses pretty soon, man.
It's gonna be a bunch of babies born next year.
Yeah, that's true. That is true, man. This population increase for sure.
Hey, you gotta stay busy somehow.
Jay, how's the shelter in place treating you, man?
Or you gotta get exercise somehow.
Yeah.
How's the shelter in place treating me, man? I mean, much like you, Kenny, like we're the couple of guys that are working from home. I know that you still had to venture out. You had to venture out for a couple of those weeks, but you've been working at home from home, and it's not always easy, man. It's difficult, right? It's stressful in different ways, just because you're expected to accomplish so much with so little, resources, I should say, with so little resources. So basically, just staying busy during the week doing that, man. Contacting some of my students and whatnot. But besides that, family, man. Family's what really keeps me sane, honestly. If it wasn't for being able to be surrounded by family, my daughter, my lady, then I might be a little bit worse off, honestly. You know what I mean? But I got that constant comfort of somebody that comes in and kind of gives me a little bit of a change of pace, should I say. My daughter runs in here, she interrupts meetings, she might interrupt this podcast. But she's she brings that energy, man. So that's really what's keeping me going. And then on the weekends, we just try to enjoy ourselves, to enjoy our time. Barbecued it up again today. Mm-hmm. Little things like that, man. Yeah, just putting my head on the little things.
Do it the most, man. Do it the most. I've been working from home, but I've been enjoying that part. I'm actually way more productive. At work, I'm running around all the time. I'm running from the 2 different studios, the office. I got meetings, and I'm asked to do way more than I can with the free time that I don't have at work. Whereas right now, I'm able to get caught up on a lot. I'm doing a lot of design. trying to remake the look of my programs. I'm going to be starting some online classes. It looks like maybe next week. So writing some curriculum for that. I got all my data up to date, doing some file maintenance and all that. So for me, it's been nice. It's just I'm real lonely, bro. I don't have any family over here. Just taking care of pops. But it's been real quiet. I haven't seen my lady in almost 4 weeks now. We hung out on Zoom last night. We watched some Ozark together on Zoom.
There you go.
We chatted for about an hour. And she's in the same boat as me. She works at the hospital, so she's cut herself off from everybody because she's dealing with people. She's got first contact with COVID patients, and so she's doing the right thing. But it's tough, man. It's tough for everybody. Kane, what about you, man? I know you're out there working. We talked about it a little bit last week, but how are things feeling now another week into this?
Man, it's the same old thing, man. Just going to work, and then when I come home, I try to stay sheltered in place much as I can, but being out in it is a lot different than, people staying at home. I know it's rough on all of you guys who have to stay at home, but let me just tell you, it's not easy to be out in this. You got to wash your hands. You got to wear a mask. You got to be careful to not to touch doorknobs, not to touch, be close to other people. It is just, it's a real challenge trying to, keep yourself socially distanced and work at the same time, so it's a much different experience for me. But let me just say, I wish I was at home. I'd much rather be sheltered in place at home and knowing that I'm coming in contact with 8 hours a day as opposed to going in all these different buildings around all these different people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, it's been a rather scary experience. I'll be 50 years old this year. I smoke, I don't want this. So for me, it's been a scary experience.
I agree with that, man. I see you out there every day. I saw your Periscope last week. It's unfortunate people not taking it seriously. I know what you mean about going out. I mean, just going to the store. It's like you got to plan every move. Do I have my gloves on? Did I touch that? Do I got to disinfect now? My car door, bringing the groceries in and stuff. So I can't even imagine, you're not only just out working, like you're out there. You don't work in an office space. Like you're going from place to place and God knows, what you're coming into contact with. But I'm glad to see you doing all the right things and protecting yourself. And we got you back, bro. We got you back. Anything you need, just holler, Kane.
Right on. Good looking out, fellas.
Yeah. Kane ain't going
for real, dog.
Kane's a strong one. I don't think this COVID is going to take you out, Kane. It's going to take more than that to take out
Hell yeah.
Well, we hope so, man. Shit.
Hey. So let's get into it, guys. We took a little break right there, but let's get back to talking some Raiders football. Last week we gave you some of our first round picks, and we also cautioned you that it's probably not going to go down like that.
Not at all.
So we gave you guys a lot of wide receivers. Che gave you 2 wide receivers. Che's going to be unveiling his all wide receiver mock draft.
Just to really piss y'all fucking haters off, I'm gonna do an all wide receiver draft, all 7 rounds, bro.
Kane, Bobby, and myself were on the same page. We each gave you a wide receiver and a corner. But this week we're going to talk about some of the names that maybe we left off the table, whether they be contingency plans in the first round, second rounders, if we happen to trade back or trade up into that round. Of course, as you guys know, we got 3 picks in the third round. So there's a lot of mid-rounders, a lot of sleepers out there, a lot of late-round value that that Mike Mayock is going to be targeting. So he seems, according to last year, if you look at that as an example, a guy that can find a lot of value later on in the draft. So even with no picks in the second round, I feel like Raider Nation feels safe. They feel secure, and they trust Mike Mayock to pull the trigger on the right guys. So let's talk about who some of those guys might be. I got a few on here. Again, guys, this is very open format. We got no rules right here. I just want everyone to share out some names of guys that we should be paying attention to, names that hopefully we should recognize if we're so lucky enough to have one of their names called. So does anybody want to lead off this discussion? Kane, you want to lead us off? You're real deep in this draft. I know you are. Why don't you lead us off with a name or two, and back it up with some comments. A guy that we didn't talk about last week, a guy that you can see the Raiders maybe honing in on in the second, if we happen to get there, or the third, or the fourth, or the fifth round.
Well, for as far as the later rounds concerned, maybe around because we could use a couple more defensive backs. A name you guys want to remember or don't forget is Reggie Robinson, cornerback out of Tulsa. He's not polished, but his stats are great. I don't have him right in front of me, so I'm not finna try to throw him out there. But that's a guy you want to watch in the later rounds. And one other guy, you asked me to give you two. I'm gonna go again. We have 3 picks in the third round. I'm gonna say at pick 81. If you don't trade 80 and you keep 80, 81, I would say if Cam Akers running back, and I know Che, you got your eyes on a bruiser, but I feel like he's that too. And I feel like he'd be a nice compliment to the backfield with Jalen Richard, and Josh Jacobs. So those are 2 names you want to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I had Cam Akers on my board too. I was looking at some more of his highlights today. That kid can run, man, and we all know Josh Jacobs. He needs someone to complement him. Richard as a third down back, getting the job done. We like him, but with Washington gone now, there's a vacancy. It needs to be filled, and why not in the draft? We've seen that this team's definitely not going to go out there and spend big money on a running back, and definitely not somebody that's essentially going to be a backup. So I like that. I'd like to see the Raiders come out of this draft with another young running back. I like that. Cam Akers. I hope you're right, Ken. I hope you're right, Cam.
Yeah, me too.
I got a few guys. You guys mind if I share one real quick, and then I'll hand it back over to you guys?
Go ahead, jump in.
So this is a wild card one. I'm just going to throw this one out there, and just to preface this, I think this guy is a late round pick. If we end up somehow picking up some ancillary picks in the 6th or the 7th, this guy can go there, or possibly undrafted free agent. The guy I'm talking about is Joe Reed. He's a wide receiver, kick returner from Virginia. He's taken some snaps at running back as well. He's big. He's 6 foot, 224 pounds. Not the fastest. He ran a 4.47, but he's a gadget type player. This guy, I would probably compare him loosely to a Cordero Patterson. But we need a kick return specialist, in my opinion. And I feel like this is a dude that the Raiders should be looking at. Again, he's physical. He can play novelty situations, gadget type player. I saw this guy come up on a couple mocks. I've seen him talked about, and his name just stuck in my head. So this is really more or less a gut thing. It's not a player I'm in love with, just an interesting type player that I can see getting a chance as an undrafted free agent, most likely. Joe Reed from Virginia. I'm interested to hear what the chat thinks about that. Again, don't roast me. Kenny isn't saying take Joe Reed in the first round. I know how y'all like to take the things I say and twist them around all crazy. I'm talking about this dude just as a wild card, just out there, late round undrafted free agent. Somebody maybe you just take a flyer on and see if maybe you can work him into the offense somehow. So let me turn this back over to you guys. Che, why don't you take the next one, man?
You want us to unload all the people that we were talking about, or you just want us to drop one and we'll go round robin?
We'll keep bouncing around. Yeah. We'll mix it up.
Sounds good. So, as you know, I have us going wide receiver. So we shouldn't have any more questions about weapons for Derek Carr after the first round, right?
I see you I basically see you setting up the no excuses argument for like midway through the season. You know what I mean? See what that is. You're just hedging your bets right now. I respect that.
But careful, because we might offend somebody, man.
Hold on. Raider just commented, Kenny says Joe Reed at 19, spread the word.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody will go out there and put that on the Twitter anyways, right? Like, oh yeah, man, these guys got so-and-so going in the first round. Fucking mentals. Anyways, so I mean, I said that shit, and I know that that's probably the least likely of events that's gonna happen, but I'm gonna act as though that's how the first round went, right? So if we got no more offensive wide receiver needs, I think we're solid at tight end, right? We got plenty of tight ends already in the house. We don't need no more tight ends. We definitely need a running back, but I think we need to address defense. And so I'm going to go ahead and talk about the third round, talk about this guy like he's going to be a third rounder. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I've done like extensive research, but there's a guy who I would think they would consider if he's there. And this is a guy, his name's Bryce Hall out of Virginia. So he's a cornerback, 6'1", 202. And this guy was projected to be a first rounder until he got injured. So he ended up getting an ankle injury about 6 games into the season and was out for the rest of the remainder of the season. But this guy's talents are like based on his instinct, honestly. Clearly, we're not going to know what his athleticism is really looking like because he didn't participate in the combine, and he's not looking to be cleared until almost training camp, right? Absolute 100% at training camp. But the dude had 21 pass defenses in 2019, and the little, the game film that I've seen, the film that I've seen of him, the dude, he's instinctively runs routes really well with the wide receivers, right? Like he doesn't look like he's guessing. He doesn't look like he's he's shook or tricked on many plays. He runs the routes almost exactly as a wide receiver, and then he makes plays on the ball, which leads to those 21 pass defenses in 2019. And I think we've been looking for a cornerback. I know Kane is convinced that the Raiders can go cornerback in the first round, but if they don't, right, and they pass up, and we've heard Mayock talk about wide receivers, there's plenty of talent in wide receivers, but I think Mayock is always looking to make that splash. He did that last season with Max, and this guy might fall because of his injury. There's not enough game film in 2020 on him, 2019, 2020 on him, and there's not enough to see in terms of his athleticism from the combine, right? Because there's zero for him. So I can see him dropping, but a lot of coaches were high on him based off of his play and his natural instinct. So that's a guy that I kind of have my eyes on as a potential candidate in the third round.
Let it be noted. Chase going 5 safeties, 5 corners for the rest of the
draft. It's going to be 3 corners, all corners in the third round, bro.
Bobby, I'm going to let you get in here really quick. But before that, let me address something, a question that came up in the chat before I forget. So first and foremost, thank you to Raider Rich for the donation. Again, every dollar counts. We're on the Zoom now, so that's another expense for the podcast. And again, shout out. Some of you guys weren't here earlier, but shout out to Mark Soto and Kenneth McCardell for their donations this past week, which allowed us to upgrade our Zoom account and thereby get back on YouTube to live stream with y'all. So again, every dollar counts. Raider Rich, thank you for that. And Demonic, who's in the chat right now, is actually our very own Tuck Rule Fool, who writes some articles for us now and again. He wants to know if there's any chance for an early trade. I'll give you my opinion on that. I don't see the Raiders wanting to give up 2 first-round picks to get back into the second. I think that they feel like they can hit in the second. There's definitely talent there in the second. We got the GM that can find that talent in the second. But when you're sitting on 2 first-round picks, I don't think you give those up. The only condition, the only reason why I would is that those 2 picks are very close together, which can sometimes make things a bit difficult. But if they got players on the board right there at 12 and 19 and they can get 2 first-rounders in 2020, I think they do it. Now, before you get into your pick, Bobby, what do you feel about that? Do you see the Raiders trading back out of the first, or is the trade possibly happening in the third or during the second, moving out of the third and up into that? What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
It's all about who's willing to do business with us, man. If we're wanting to trade, that's cool and everything, but if nobody wants to trade with us, then we're stuck with what with the cards that we got dealt with. I did say last week that we were going to trade back with one of our picks. I can see it happening in the number 12, just to move back a couple spots, just to try to gain a second round pick. Who do I see we picking with that with that changed first pick or whatever? Um, it's tricky. It definitely has to be a worthy wide receiver. I've been keeping an eye on Denzel Mims.
Mm-hmm.
If we move around, if we move back, we can still score with him. He's
Mm-hmm.
definitely got that speed. He's got that length. He's got there's a thing about about this year, about the 2020 draft, is that there's so many wide receivers available that any of them could have been, a wide receiver one. And so there's a very big possibility that we could definitely land Mims as far as trading back. As far as a pick in the third round, I see us going for a running back as well, just kind of like how Kane was talking about. We're talking about trying to get some sort of bruiser. There is a couple names. There's a Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's out of LSU, so they definitely got a pedigree. He's gone up against a lot of good defensive players, so he has that. He is a bruiser. Check out his film. But the one guy I've been pounding the table, and I think it was Pete in the chat also mentioned it as well, and so did Austin, is Antonio Gibson.
Uh,
This guy is labeled as a wide receiver, but he's a running back slash wide receiver. This guy's like 6 foot something at 200 and I forget how many pounds. He's I think like 220 pounds or something like that. He's a big boy. He's huge and he could definitely hit some people. 228. That's what he is. 6 foot 228. And talk about needing a bruiser. We could
wow.
definitely move some people out of the way with that cat. He can also, like I said, catch the ball because he is a wide receiver, and he also is set up to do any kick returns as well because he has done that as well. So he is a honestly, he's like a Swiss Army knife. He's not the most polished. He could definitely work on a couple extra things, but that's something that can be taught. As far as his size and the amount of work that he can do, go check out that film. I'm telling you, people, there's a good film by what was it, Just Bomb Productions or whatever. They
Mhm.
show some of the good stuff. Like I said, obviously it's going to show his best traits. There are other things that he can work on, like I said before, but how can you compete with that size, man? And especially if we end up picking him up in the third round, we definitely got a lot of picks there. So I could
Mhm.
definitely see us picking up a third rounder, bruiser, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, or Antonio Gibson. I'd be stoked to see Antonio Gibson. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be a nice pickup. Kane, you got another name you want to throw in there? Do you want to comment about the possible trade situation?
I have another name out there. I have another name. Should I just had it? My phone just died on me. Anyway, Marlon Davidson is
Mm.
another name, defensive tackle, and can also play defensive end. Tall, big guy, 303 pounds, had 7.5 sacks, 49 tackles in 2019. He can play, three tech. He can play a 3 tech and a 4-3 defense, and as well as slide outside on passing downs. And I'm looking at this guy at pick 80.
Mm.
He might slide to the third round because he's not. His technique is not. He can work on his technique, sort of like how Max Crosby slid, but he was a gem, in a needle in the haystack. This guy, I'm thinking it's going to be the same way.
Mm. I like that. You definitely seen that the Raiders are willing to invest in that defensive line, picking up valuable rotational pieces to keep them fresh all game and help with the pass rush. That's not a bad look right there. Even with the signing of Malik in the offseason, I think that the Raiders are going to continue to want to invest in the defensive line. So, whether it's him or somebody later on, I would not be shocked to see the Raiders come out of this with another interior defensive lineman or possibly an end, keeping those guys fresh and rotational, situational type dudes. So I like that. That's not bad at all. What do you feel about the potential, as Tuck asked, what do you think about the potential of the Raiders trading out of maybe that first round pick? Do you see that as a possibility?
I do. I do believe. Well, 19 is not going to have the value of 12. So my thing is a lot of people want us to I can't think of AJ Terrell is a name that will slide, might keep falling right on out into the second, because he's the last of probably the top 6-7 backs. He's probably the seventh, defensive back that's going to be taken, and he should be there at the top of the second. So if the Raiders do see fit that take a wide receiver and a cornerback, and they want to pair him up with his old boy Mullen from Clemson, and from Clemson, and bring him in with Farrell and Hunter. That would be an awesome idea. I just feel like 19 is too high to take him. So if you want to trade back and just, like you did last year, trade back into the 20s. And then if he's still there when your pick come, trade back again. He might drop some more. And then eventually you can pick him up at maybe pick 28, 29, early second round. You might pick up a second round pick. And with trading back, you'll also pick up extra picks and still get the player you want. That's what Mayock sounds like he likes to do. He's very patient, and he lets the draft come to him. And I see AJ. So.
And with him saying too, I mean, he said in his press conference that there's a lot of round one wide receivers that won't be taken in the first round, guys that they can possibly pick up in the second or third. That's going to be first round talent. You saw that in the 2014 draft, just an incredible wide receiver draft class. Not all those guys went in the first round. So this class being compared to that class, very much so. So that is a possibility. That is a possibility. I want to give a shout out to Stoney and a shout out to Mojo Pod Show for their donations right now between YouTube and Raider Witch. We are set up for Zoom for the next 2 months. If it comes to that, if not, your money is going to be directed to our Libsyn account, which basically pushes this podcast out all over the world. So we appreciate you guys. That means a lot to us. A lot. Very generous of you guys. We appreciate that.
The world, Craig.
The world. Let me give you guys two names here, because the one position that's not being talked about is offensive line. And I don't see the Raiders coming out of this draft without taking at least one offensive lineman in the third round. I really believe that's a possibility. With all the talk about trading Gabe Jackson, whether that happens or not, I think that signals the fact that Gabe Jackson's time here is coming to an end, whether it be this year or next. Or just the possibility of getting younger and having somebody back there to get mentored and be ready to take over in a moment's notice, just having some more depth and future, as well as possibility of tackle. Trent Brown was brought in as a free agent. He's getting paid a lot of money. You'd like to see them get younger and cheaper at that position too. The two guys I have for you are lined up as guards. One is Ben Bredesen from Michigan. I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right. The two guys I'm going to give you, the big guys, and I think we've seen with the Raiders, that's what they like on the line. They like big strength on the offensive line. John Gruden values his run game. You got a hot shot, young, second-year running back now in Josh Jacobs, and you want to build the biggest wall in front of him that you can. So the first one, Ben Bredesen, guard out of Michigan, 6'5", 315 pounds. He was a 4-year starter in Michigan. He's a big, strong mauler. Not the most mobile, not the most athletic dude, but he could pretty much move around defenders at will. Whether or not that carries over to the NFL, well, that's a question for every lineman coming out of college. But this guy's strength and size speaks for itself. He's got hips, and he can stay square. His hand placement's true. He fits well into a power scheme, projects as a starting guard. This dude could be a steal if he gets down to the third round, provided some real nice backup, some real nice insurance behind Incognito and Gabe Jackson, as possibly a replacement for Gabe Jackson or Incognito, should either one of those guys move on in the short term. The other guy I have is John Simpson, guard out of Clemson. We already know the Raiders had a thing for Clemson last year. We'll see if it keeps going this year. He also 6'5", 330 pounds. Just another big toughie. He was a 2-year starter in Clemson. He came over from a JUCO. Fits the Raiders mold as a big, strong body in the run game. Some cons on him. He plays tall. He's a little tight in the hips. But you got a guy like Tom Cable that can maybe help him work through that. But again, another road grader, another guy that likes to mash in the running game. So those are two guards that I like coming out of possibly the third round. I would love to see the Raiders bolster this offensive line with some depth and a couple youngsters, or at least one youngster that they can train up and get ready to take position of one of these vets that are in there right now. So that's what I got. John Simpson and Big Ben Bredesen out of Michigan. So I don't know. You can roast me for those if you want, but I like those. I like those picks. I would like to see either one of those guys end up here. I like the big lineman. That's a tradition. Keep it going.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned John Simpson because that's actually the cat that I had pegged for us picking like towards like the tail end of the draft because
Really?
the same thing, man. Honestly, because you said that size, I believe I was checking everyone's mock drafts and all that, and I think I looked at NFL.com's their like 7 round mock draft and all that, and that name popped out, and I was like, well, let me check it out real quick. And John Simpson, and I was looking up his stats, and he's a big boy. I started looking up the stats for a lot of offensive guards. And the one thing that I thought as well, same thing what you said, because you mentioned Gabe Jackson. And I was like, well, let's see what's out there, what we could start investing in, what we could start looking at. Because if not this year, then maybe next year we could start looking up some of the people that are coming out as well. So yeah, the name that really stood out because of that of the whole mock draft was John Simpson, and I was looking in there as well, and I believe there's this other kid out of Oregon. What's his name? Shane, I think.
Shane Lemieux.
Shane Lemieux. There you go. Yeah,
that was who I was going. You took my player, but I was going to say him. Yeah.
It's funny that we're all on the same level, man. Is that because like I was looking at some of his film, same thing, man, and you could definitely see his mobility, how he's able just to move a little bit more fluid, man, and that's what you need, man. You need to be able to move around. He is able to kind of get down and to be able to anchor it pretty good. So that's. Yeah, that those two names definitely stood out. So I was surprised that you said John Simpson, and it's funny that I got Kane's pick right there with John Lemieux.
Yeah, because in this offense, the guard needs to pull. The guard has to be athletic, and that was big. A lot of people say Gabe Jackson, this, that, or whatever. You got your opinion. This, he was really good at that. Real big part of the running game. Yep. So whoever you get to replace him, if you choose to do so, needs to be able to be athletic and to be able to pull, get around to the other side of the line, pick up those linebackers.
Especially with the backs that we got too, man. I mean, dude, you need to be able to have those blockers down the field. And if they're able to get down the ways, that's the one downside of John Simpson is that he's so big, is that he kind of has a little extra to be able to lug around, but that doesn't mean he's completely slow. He does use that power of his, man. So, but Shane Lemieux, yeah, definitely, he's definitely worth looking at, man.
Shane Lemieux.
He sounds like a fucking hockey player, bro.
I know, right? or a bicycle rider or some shit, in the fucking Tour de France.
How many fucking teeth does he have?
Well, he kind of does look like one.
Hey, the dude plays like a fucking beast, dude. I mean, he plays like a man amongst boys. Go look at his film. Throwing motherfuckers around like it's nothing.
And
I believe you.
And he was a captain as well for I believe like 5 games or something like that. So he's got some stats on him, man. He's got a little bit of clout.
That's important to note. A leadership role very valued by Mike Mayock. So that's important to note. That's not something that should be looked over.
Yeah.
Not at all. Che, Rue wants to bet you $100 that we don't take 2 wide receivers in the first round.
It's not needed, Rue. I already told you that's not going to happen. That's just what I decided to do. Okay, don't be mad at me for it. Okay. The reality is the Raiders are going to trade back both fucking picks and go fucking all defense. That's probably what they're going to do.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if the motherfuckers, if Tua dropped to 12, that they draft Tua. I know I might sound stupid for saying this, but I wouldn't be surprised. John Gruden loves his quarterbacks.
Incorrect, Kane. You would not sound stupid for saying that. You would just be angering a whole lot of people. That's all.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They just be very upset with you and say that you're stupid for saying that. But nah, not at all. I don't think you're stupid at all for saying that, though.
Rue, if we take 2 wide receivers in the first round, blame it on that bitch, Carol Baskins.
Yo, I was gonna go out. That's where I was going with this whole Lemieux toothless thing, bro. I was gonna go. That was my next point. He could have. Does he pass as a Joe Exotic boyfriend? I just wondering. Oh no, you see the fucking update, bro? That dude got all pearly whites now, bro. You seen that?
Yeah.
Dude?
What? Really?
Yeah. He got them false teeth, dog.
Teeth.
So in short, Rue, I don't think Shay's going to take you up on your bet. He will not financially recover from that. So as his lawyer, I advise him not to do that. I got another name for you guys. Another position I don't see us getting out of this draft without is running back, which I talked about just a moment ago when Bobby and Kane.
That's where I was going to go next too.
So we need that. We need somebody that can spell Jacobs. He took a beating last year.
Yep.
And you saw it around the whole team last year. I mean, they got by. This team got by on guts alone through first half of the season. It's not really something we gave them credit for last year. We were highly critical of the Raiders last year. We were very frustrated. You know, we had high hopes going into the season, and it was very frustrating for three out of four of us to travel out to New York and see the shit show that was against the Jets. You know, I think we did get in our feelings a bit, but let's give some credit. The Raiders got by on guts for half the season last year. And then that team, being as young as they are, they ran out of gas. They hit the wall. You can call it the rookie wall, call it what you want, but we were banged up. We were banged up bad. And Josh Jacobs was doing jumping jacks with a busted ass shoulder. Derek Carr. Your man was hurting over there.
Watch out, Kitty. Hey, come on, Kitty. We got Kane talking about Tua in the first round, and now you talking about, oh man.
Yeah, the complaint message box is already filling up, bro.
I can't wait to see what Twitter looks like this week. All these bitchy mamones over here fucking crying about it.
Maimons, bro. Maimons.
I'll back Derek Carr, man, especially if we get him some weapons, dude. I think, our whole thing on Derek Carr is he's not good enough to get it done on his own, and I think that's a fair assessment. But I think you put the right weapons around this dude, and he can put it together. But that's not to say he's not without his flaws, and we're not afraid to point those out. So
that's right.
If that hurts your feelings, change the channel.
Yeah, goddamn right.
The thing is with Derek Carr is Derek Carr looks absolutely fabulous the first 15 plays. The first 15 scripted play, oh my God, the Raiders come out like a juggernaut, But after that, the play calling sucks, and his ability to improvise on the go, I don't know what happened. All right, so
why can't we? The name I was going to give you guys is Jonathan Taylor, running back out of Wisconsin, 5'11", 219 pounds. Sound familiar? Very familiar, very similar to Josh Jacobs. Big, punishing back, starter, bell cow ability in the NFL. Stout player, strong trunk, runs violent, does not shy away from contact. The only con against this guy, well, there's two. The first one being his significant mileage, 926 snaps in college. A lot. But we're not asking him to be the starter. We're not asking him to be the bell cow. We're asking him to come in and spell Josh Jacobs. So I like that fit. The other problem, and this is concerning because we've seen this with Raider running backs of late, is his fumble game is bad. He lost 15 out of 18 fumbles in 41 games. Now, is that something they can coach up? Ball security, ball protection? I hope so. But the fact of the matter is we're not going to be relying on this guy every down. But God damn, if there's not a better insurance clause in this draft for Josh Jacobs, in my opinion, than Jonathan Taylor. Mileage, non-issue in my book, considering the situation. Sorry to cut you off, Kane. I wanted to get that name out there before we drifted too far away from that.
No, it's cool. I don't want to get on a car rant anyway, man. I'm tired of trying to get the Kardashians to see that you can judge the top player on the team. That's what he's there for. And if he can accept the criticism and take the smoke, you know what I'm saying? Then the fans, you are no less than him or no better than him, that you can't judge him for his play on the field. That's just how I go as a fan.
And we've seen a string of mediocre quarterbacks, and I don't want to say Carr's mediocre. I think he's a tick above that. I think he's an above average player, but there'll be plenty of time for Carr rants in week 7. So write that down.
That's if he don't get traded during the draft.
Oh man!
But who knows, man? If he shows out, I'll be changing my tune. I'll be changing my tune like nothing happened. Like Donald Trump would be like, "He's the best quarterback possibly the greatest quarterback we've ever had.
I know he said it.
I know he said
My
it.
whole thing is if
said,
if the Raiders brought in a quarterback that could possibly start in his place, not some young guy that they need to develop as a backup, like most teams do, that when they satisfy with their starter, they don't bring in nobody in to challenge that dude. They don't want no quarterback controversy. The Raiders brought in Mariota, obviously, because they feel like Carr can be the man, but if he doesn't get it done, we have somebody that we feel that can replace him. And that's just point blank. Point blank. Accept it, like it, don't like it. Write it down, take a picture. I don't give a fuck. That's what it is.
It's what's happening. You don't invest in a backup like that unless you feel like you might need a contingency plan. And we also know, and just to be fair, for those of you guys on the other side of the argument, it's also just a great backup. I mean, it's a nice backup to have. Finally have somebody, in front of Nathan Peterman. So I think no matter what side of the card debate you're on, you gotta feel good about that. You got to feel good about that. So,
hell yeah.
Well, I always refer to the example of the Eagles, man. Look what happened to their starter. I honestly, I used to work with a guy who was an Eagles fan. He was annoying as hell, and I never really cared about the Eagles, but he was just an annoying ass person. And so when that happened, I remember clowning on him. I was like, "Yeah, your guys' season is done. It's over. Blah blah blah. I hope you're happy. You had a good couple games." And that backup was able to do what a starting quarterback is supposed to do. He was able to take them and to actually able to get that chip, man. So I was like, that opened my eyes to, what, we just can't have no run of the mill backup. We got to have somebody that can actually step in. Am I saying that Mariota is the answer? Definitely not. He is. I'm not saying that that's the dude that should be. Hell no. I'm not saying that, but
he's the answer at number 2.
Yeah.
Watts makes a good point.
Yep.
Carr's never had a backup, and the last Raider backup to push the starter was Derek Carr.
There you go.
Those are facts.
There you go. Those are facts, bro.
It's good, man. If it helps Derek Carr get back to the fire that he had once before, then it's just a good thing all around, and everybody can just shut the fuck up at that point, and we can stop being so critical. But I think we've shown on the show before that we pull no punches. That's why you guys come here. That it's not called the Pillaging Podcast for nothing, bro. We're gonna pillage. We're gonna come hard. So if you're not playing up to standards, if you don't have that commitment to excellence, we're gonna call you out. But if you can regain your form and you could play and you could lead this team, we're going to get right behind you, because that's what a leader does. It brings everybody together, including the detractors. So I'll be happy to shut my mouth and get back on the car train, because I made excuses for him for 3 straight years on this podcast.
We all did.
So go do your homework.
But you know what's funny? I started this.
You did.
I started this talking shit about Derek Carr, and y'all called me a car hater. Y'all called me a car hater in Denver, and I was like, okay, you know what? And that kind of hurt me when Kenny said it. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm done. I'm not gonna say shit else, and I'm gonna just let it play itself out. And here we are.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I do owe you an apology, Kane. I remember that clear as day. And it started before we got to the airport. We were on because I can't even lie, like I was just playing devil's advocate. Kane and I were arguing about this on the shuttle from the rental car spot all the way over to the terminal. And we sat down in the terminal. We busted out the mobile gear and we started recording a show right there in the terminal. People looking at us hella crazy, like, what are they doing? But Kane, you were on top of that. That was the game. It was the second game of the season. It was we traveled to Mile High to watch that game. It was hot as hell that day. It was like 105 degrees, record temperatures in the stadium. Derek Carr did not have a great game. That was also the same game that you saw Bruce Irvin completely quit on the last drive. And there was a lot to be called out in that game, but you were very early on that, calling out Derek Carr, questioning him as the leader of this team. And I was defending him vehemently on that episode. So you guys can go back and hear that. You could also hear a very tired, very worn out version of myself and Kane on the second half of that episode. We were going through it. That was a hell of a trip. That was like a 2-day trip. It felt like a week trip. I think I was more tired after that trip than I was after New York, to be honest with you. And I had the damn coronavirus when I was in New York. So you do the math. By the way, New York,
Kenny Corona, bro. Kenny Corona, bro.
Corona steak over here, dog.
Yeah. Hey, well, if you did have it, you can't get it no more, right? So you all good.
Shit, I don't know about that, though. That's
know.
not what I'm hearing, but I hope so.
Yeah. Anyway, who's got another name? Bobby, you said you had a running back you wanted to share.
I got another name. Hold on.
Okay, Jay, get in there.
Let me get this one in here because Bobby, you actually dropped his name, and I'm glad that you didn't go too into him because. So you brought up Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of LSU. Okay.
Yep.
Now, this guy, by all means, man, if you look at his stats, you look at what he did, obviously he was part of a fucking national champion team. And if you watched LSU play, he jumped off the screen, man. He honestly did. When I was watching the bowl games and stuff like that, and towards the end of the season, I started watching more and more of these higher ranked teams, and LSU was one of them. Obviously, their defense stood out, right? Their defense whooped a lot of people's asses, but their offense was pretty fucking good too. And this little dude, and I call him little dude because he's 5'7", okay? 5'7", 207. So he's a little stocky guy. Okay? Yeah, that's right. Bobby's taller than him. You got him, dog. You got
Bobby.
him.
Hype it up, Bobby.
But listen, so this cat, man, if you look at him like combine numbers, the dude ran a 4.6, right? Nothing spectacular. There's nothing amazing about him. If you look at his bench press, 15. He got 15 reps, and that's decent. His vertical jump 39.5 inches. Okay. He's not gonna like wow you with these numbers, but when you watch the game film, this guy has a natural running ability. So he has very good vision. He has this ability to change direction and jump. He has like these little like twitchy like jump cuts, bro. Yep. If you watch him, and it pays off for him in the long run. So last season, which was the national championship season for LSU, the dude had 215 attempts, ran for 1,414 yards, and he fucking had 16 TDs with a long of 89. Okay, with a long of 89. Now the knock on him is that he doesn't have that high end speed to run away from people. He gets caught. He'll break a long run, gets caught, right? But like you were talking about earlier, Kenny, if you got a guy that could come in and spell your number one, we're in love with Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is our guy. But you have another guy that can get in there and produce similar numbers to him, teams are in trouble, bro. Like the Raiders can already run on whoever the fuck they want with the line that they got and the running back that they got. You throw in this other kid in there, and this kid, despite his size, he does not run small. Okay, you go and you look at his film. He's breaking tackles all over the place, running out of tackles. He's breaking out of the hands of linebackers, linemen. It doesn't matter, bro. If you're trying to strong arm him, if you're just going one-on-one, he's gonna break loose a lot of times. The dude's impressive, man. He's really impressive, and I think the only reason why I say we have a chance of getting him in the third round is those numbers, right? The combine numbers that you see. And the size, okay? He's 5'7". That's not impressive. That's not your typical running back. That's not a guy that you say, oh, that's the guy I'm taking in the first round. That's the guy I'm taking in the second round. He's a guy that could drop, and he might just land us, and he might be a steal. That's very high potential for him to be a steal. And I know I've been talking about I want a big bruiser. I want a big dude that's going to wear the defense down and then let Jacobs come in. But if you have another guy that can produce similarly to Jacobs, if you got this guy, he goes out there, breaks a 70-yard run, doesn't score, then Jacobs comes in, gets the pay dirt. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, fantasy football players ain't gonna be happy about that, but I'll be all right because my team's winning. Okay, yeah. If you match two running backs like that together, I say we're winning and winning a lot.
Let me just say right now, John Gruden doesn't give a shit about your fantasy football team.
No,
neither do I.
You know what's funny too is how you mentioned that, Che, about him just being able to stop and just change direction. It's funny. I was actually watching some of this film with my boy, and we both just looked at each other and we're like, "Dude, he got that lightweight Barry Sanders feel."
Yeah,
like I'm not saying he's full on Barry.
Top end speed. Not
the top end speed, but he definitely has that. Like he's able to cut, turn around, and make those extra couple yards. That's the one thing, is that he does lose the speed, especially when he's trying to cut and try to, change directions. But he's able to do that, and he finishes it off with hitting them in the face, hitting them in the mouth, dude, and actually fighting for those extra yards, because he does fall forward.
Yeah. I like this kid, man. I like him, and I mean, there's a potential for the dude to be drafted early. Don't get me wrong. I can see a team looking at him and saying, like, this is the best fucking running back coming out of the draft. Let's take him now, right? And we saw the Raiders do the exact same thing, right? They did that last season. They said, Josh Jacobs is the best running back in the fucking draft. We're taking him. We want him. We're going to take him. So there's potential for a team to do the exact same thing with this guy. But if he does slip and he does slide all the way to the third round and he's there around 80 and 81, bro, I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders took him. And that would be a perfect compliment in terms of just having another guy that could do it all. Because the guy also had 55 receptions for 453 yards. So the dude can do everything. He's a multifaceted back. And if we're going to have Rashard as that like specialist, then why not have another guy that's basically another Josh Jacobs? You know what I mean?
I have a point to that too. But before I do, I want to give a shout out to Pete for your donation. He says that's his apology for leaving 3 voicemails, which we're going to try to get to tonight. We're going to see if that works. We do have some calls lined up. Also, Irish Raider for his donation of 20 euros. I appreciate you, dog. And Austin Lepla, too, for the donation, saying that this right now was what he's been looking forward to all week. So I appreciate that, man. We all appreciate it very much. We've been looking forward to it, too, man. This is our chance to hang out virtually. So it's good to see my brothers here. And that includes all of you guys as well. But what excuse me, that's just that's not the Corona, that's just
that's just Bobby Sweetleaf.
What I wanted to say about that, the possibility of having 2 Josh Jacobs or two starting caliber running backs, whether it be Taylor or any of the other names that have been mentioned, it's this. We've heard some talk already about Josh Jacobs' responsibilities in the passing game going up this year. A lot of people wanted to know, why was he not involved last year? And they talked about him learning the blocking schemes and picking up blockers, and that being first and foremost most important to him being a receiver out of the backfield. He's got to be ready for both. Now, assuming that happens this offseason and Jacobs is ready to take on that role, now you have a new wrinkle in the offense. Now you can go split back, or now you can go 2 backs back there. You can have that I form without Alec Ingold. You can have 2 rushers back there and really have defenses scratching their heads, because now it's not so obvious anymore. You know, you see Jacobs in the backfield, it's pretty much a lock that he's getting the rock. But if he steps up and you pair him with another weapon in the backfield, now you don't know what's coming at you. So that's going to be very interesting. I think that's an added wrinkle that we get from adding another running back to this offense. So I really, really will be excited if we draft a running back in this draft. And I could already hear the rumor bullshit circling already. Oh, what's wrong with Josh Jacobs? Is he injured? There's tension within the organization. No, that's a dummy take. You already know what it is. If they take a running back in this draft, it's insurance, and it's adding more weapons into this offense. So everybody's pounding the table for more weapons. It doesn't have to be a wide receiver. It can come out of the backfield. That can be valuable. That can pay dividends moving forward. Don't be closed-minded to that. Open your mind a little bit and let's get more creative, John. Let's get more creative, John. But I like that. You guys have some more names you guys want to share out?
There's one more name I want to bring up. One more running back. And I lightweight mentioned this to you, Kenny. I see this running back, us picking him up as an undrafted free agent. You know, we're talking about in the draft itself. There's one name that actually stood out to me, and I like to keep an eye out on some of these small school prospects. You know, just like PJ Hall, how he came in. I started paying more attention to these smaller school prospects. There's the knock to them is that they haven't been up to the caliber as some of these other, big schools. But at the same time, I mean, you can't deny talent. And one of the names that definitely stood out to me is this kid named Joe Connor out of Concordia Cardinals. No idea where the hell that's at, but it's this kid, he's 6'2", 215. He's a big kid, and not only that, same thing as well. Like I said, he can actually return the ball but the one difference is that he actually has some speed, man. Because of that height, because of his weight, he's not like Antonio Gibson where it actually slows him down a little bit. This kid actually has some speed. I tried looking up for some highlight films of Joe Connor, and I was only able to find just like actual games where he shines in that. And trust me, yo, you actually see the wheels on this kid. So, you know, he's definitely a name to look out for outside of the draft as far as like an undrafted free agent. I could definitely see us picking him up. And hey, it just because we're getting another running back doesn't mean that we're squeezing people out. I mean, I thought the exact same thing when we're picking up, like our like 20th, tight end or whatever. I was like, dude, why do we need more tight ends? But I keep forgetting. My boy had to remind me, like, dude, it's a 90 something squad, bro. The practice squad is 90 something people, and from there we actually get to narrow it down like who we actually want.
Yeah.
So he was like, don't think of it like, like they're in it and they're gonna start and we're gonna pay them. It's not till they actually suit up in that first week. That's when they actually be part of the squad. But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
I definitely see that name, Joe Connor. Look out for him.
And with that, Bobby, I think, I mean, I don't want to get into this right now. We'll probably talk about this next week because there's an article up on pj4f.com about it. But that whittling down to a 53-man roster is going to be a little tougher this year, depending on what happens with these shelter in place orders in this offseason, training window gets shorter and shorter. How long does that go on for, and how much does it affect the NFL offseason? Could make the job on the coaches that much tougher. But I don't want to get off into that right now. Maybe we could talk about that next week. We'll see kind of what develops here because we still have some time for things to change. But shout out to Ladies of Darkness. Welcome to the chat, Ladies of Darkness, Crow's Nest Podcast Network. In effect, Kane, do you have another name you want to throw out there, man?
I do. Elijah Michael, Louisiana Lafayette.
Yep.
Running back, 5'11", 221 pounds. 5.8 yards a carry, 1,092 yards, 15 touchdowns, 10 receptions for 70 yards.
Damn.
And a very talented backfield at Louisiana Lafayette. Here we go again. We talked about the small school back Bobby just mentioned. This guy is a steal in the fifth or sixth round. And as we trade back and pick up more later round picks, I feel like this is a guy that you could pick up in the later rounds. You can pass up an Akers or a Gibson or the guys that we mentioned that might be there in the third round. You can wait till we get down. And this guy, go back and go look at his film. Power back. He's the power back of the trio in that school, in that talented backfield. So this is a guy you want to keep. Another guy you want to keep an eye on.
I'm sure a lot of our listeners are surprised to hear so much running back conversation, but I'm saying, man, it's to have a second guy in there, very valuable. They talk about needing two quarterbacks in the NFL. You need two running backs in the NFL these days as well. I mean, you just do. And so if you're a little bit shocked about how much we're talking about running backs, again, like Chase said earlier, that has nothing to do with our opinion on Josh Jacobs. We love the guy, but this team gets that much stronger. This offense gets that much more stout by adding some depth there. And I feel like this is a very strong running back class that's being overshadowed by corners and wide receivers. So if you're a little bit scared off by that, don't be. I mean, we're just kind of talking about some sleepers here. And in some ways, the Raiders can get better, and you have to open your mind.
People shouldn't. You know why? Because when Josh Jacobs went down, there was a very big drop off from Josh Jacobs to DeAndre Washington and Jalen Richard.
Yep, exactly what I was going to say.
There was a gap sort of in the offense. You weren't getting the same production out the running back. So you definitely need another guy who can, give you the same amount or at least 3/4 of what Josh Jacobs could do. And I just, DeAndre Washington, although he was good back, for the team while he was here, and Jalen Richard, they aren't Josh Jacobs. You need somebody that's more closer, more, like we said, that can spell Josh Jacobs. And I feel like it was like, oh shit, Josh Jacobs hurt. We might not win today. You know what I'm saying? Oh shit, every time Josh Jacobs got hurt, it wasn't like, okay, next man up. It was like, oh shit, Josh Jacobs hurt. Why is he not playing? You were more concerned about that than saying, okay, we're gonna be okay. We got so and so coming in, and that's why we're talking about a backup to Josh Jacobs, somebody that can spell him a 1-2 punch.
Yeah, that's a great way to wrap up that discussion. I 100% Kane. Before we move on, I just want to say a little shocked that our crew here, we didn't bring up any safety talk. We didn't talk about any linebackers. We're running out of time as far as the draft is concerned. The draft will be next Thursday. So let's just take a moment to talk about that and the logistics. We've talked about it loosely here in the crew. I'm going to try to do a Zoom chat during that first round. Unfortunately, out here on the West Coast, the draft starts at 4:00, which is right in the middle of my work day. But I'm going to see what I can do to move some things around. So Bobby, Che, Kane, if you guys are available, I'm going to set up a Zoom meeting for that time. And if we could jump in, that would be pretty exciting. So we can do that. So let's just stay in touch, guys. It's a little behind the scenes talk here live on the air, but we're going to try to do that. I know a lot of other podcasts are doing something similar. So if we can't get it off the ground, make sure you seek out another content provider and jump on. It's pretty cool to watch the draft with everybody. I can't wait to watch everybody freak out when we draft the offensive tackle in the first round.
We better not. We better not.
But just a name I want to throw out there really quick that nobody here mentioned, and I think needs to get mentioned at the very least before we move on. And, I know that the safety room right now is crowded. I think it's going to wash out a little bit differently by the time the season starts. And so if we do go a different direction, if we don't take a wide receiver in the first, a guy I would really like us to grab is Grant Delpit out of LSU. 6'3", 201 pounds. The age of the undersized safety in silver and black is over. And if they're going to get better at safety, I can see them going in completely opposite direction and getting Delpit. This guy's a monster. I'm not going to go into talking about him. If you've been following the draft, you know who I'm talking about. A lot of people pounding the table for this dude. Some people feel very differently, but Grant Delpit, put it in there. Gut feeling.
There you go.
So do you guys want to try to take a couple of these phone calls? You want to see if that works?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Yeah.
Try it
cool.
out. Hell yeah.
All right. Let's see here. Let's go to the 347. You guys let me know if you can hear this. Okay. Let's go to the 347. Look at that. This is crazy. This is actually our first telemarketer. That's very strange. So forget that. Forget
Sweet.
that.
I think they were selling Netscape accounts, bro.
They're talking about survivor benefits, which is cool, but this wrong podcast. All right, so this is a 3-parter. This is Pete, though. So before you roll your eyes like, oh, here comes another long voicemail, it's Pete. He's going to bring the fire through all 3 parts of this call. So I'm not mad at that. So let's get into it. Pete, I'm sure he's got some draft takes here. Maybe he'll provide something brand new that we haven't talked about already, which would be nice.
Kenny Che Kane, Brother Wasabi, what's up, Pillagers? This is Pete. How we doing? I'm going to start this off a little different. I'm going to say this. You know what? To any pillager out there like me that happens to be Greek, happy Greek Easter. Christos Anestis, Yasu. You know what I mean? And if you ain't Greek, throw back some ouzo and eat some lamb for your boy.
Oh.
Know what I mean? On top of that, among other things, I'm not going to harp on this or other, bullshit that's been going on wherever you are, whatever you're doing. If you're an essential worker, thank you. Please stay sane. And if you're staying at home like I am, man, also, please stay sane. We got this. We can do this. So among other things, I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to start this off, and I'll listen to the last episode. I listened to everybody among Raider creator stuff, be it YouTube, podcast, what have you, amongst mock draft and shit like that. And right now I'm going to give you my mock draft. Pick number 12. So consensus says we need a wide receiver. I have a theory. I'm not going to move off any of these picks. I'm not going to do a mock with any trades. But I have a weird feeling that we're actually not going to trade out at 19. I think we're going to trade out at 12. And I preface it with this: when it comes to the top 3 wide receivers, and this is going to sound strange, I'm actually fucking praying that the Cardinals or the Jets take a receiver before we do, and then the Niners directly take one of the top 3 receivers right after we do at 13. Why, you might ask? Because you look at every mock, you look at everything that everybody's saying It's all geared towards the Broncos taking one at 15. And I'm sorry if I'm Paul Gunther or if I'm Rod Marinelli, I'm fucking terrified of that offense getting another receiver, or another weapon. Sutton, Fant, blah, 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 blah. Whatever. So my number 12 pick, don't like it, go ahead. But Henry Ruggs. Why? Because he is an alpha male. Like, if you read anything about that wide receiver room in Alabama, I guess he was the know-it-all leader. You know what I mean? Like, just that guy who's vocal, well, like Josh Jacobs is, and shit like that. And, you know, if that's the kind of team that Mayock and Gruden are trying to build, even though we've been told that CeeDee Lamb is their favorite receiver, I've heard that from Bleacher Report and stuff like that, I would much rather have Ruggs rather than miss out on Ruggs, because he could have a positive effect on the run game. Pick number 19. Like I said, I'm not trading off anything in this fictional fucking situation, but I think we could also trade back if we take 12. But here's me. And y'all don't like it?
All right, part 2 right here. Stay with it.
Yo, my bad. I was a little long-winded there, but sorry about it. So, I'm going to pick up where I left off at 19. By the way, this is Pete. And we're going double Alabama, baby. And this is where people, like, I don't know that you guys would agree with it or everyone else is going to agree with it, but even if we trade down, I'm taking Xavier McKinney, double Alabama, boy. Ooh. Why I like Xavier McKinney? Stays healthy, not afraid to hit anybody, covers the slot. Actually, outside of Winfield, who has injury concerns, McKinney does not. He's a true free safety. Covers slot, runs around the field, and comes downhill like a motherfucker. I know we got Demarius Randall. I know we're getting Josh Abram back, blah, 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 blah. Look, man, here's my opinion on Mr. Abram. He ain't done nothing for me yet. I got one game worth of tape, and I got it recorded on my fucking DVR. And I saw him take some bad angles, saw him do this, saw him do that, throw his shoulder out of socket. I'm popular, but, like, I'm really not that big on Abram. So give me a safety to continue into the future for some time. Pick number 80. Me and Bobby Wasabi's draft gym that we've been talking about for a while, Antonio Gibson out of Memphis, wide receiver running back combo. Dude does it all. Like, you know, I would much rather, like, instead of investing in defense, like, this offense needs some weapons. I'm not just talking, like, you know, receiver. Like, Gruden needs some toys. Give me Anthony Gibson, wide receiver running back combo out of Memphis, 81. Give me Noah Imamagabagwe? I don't know how to pronounce his name. Cornerback out of Utah. And this is an optimist pick because I don't know that he's going to be there. So, among other things, but, like, everyone talking about C.J. Henderson, this, that, and the other thing. Like, watch his tape. Cornerback out of Utah. If you ask me, top 5. You know, like, he's like, it's how he's not getting first round mentions among Henderson and Akuda. I have no idea. Number 91, Keyshawn Vaughn, running back, Vanderbilt, double tough some bitch. Didn't have a great offensive line. Went up against SEC competition, and fear no evil, going straight ahead, mofo. We really need to get Josh Jacobs some help, and we missed out on all free agent running back possibilities along with losing DeAndre Washington. If you don't know who Keyshawn Vaughn is, please look him up. I've been big on this guy, and so is PFF. Anywho, so I'm out of here. I'm going to leave on this note. And this goes to all everybody, and, like, I know you guys haven't hammered this nail a lot, but the idea that Rod Marinelli is going to replace one Mr. Paul Gunther in the middle of this year, if he doesn't perform well, even though we got...
Oh, hold on. Part 3. This is a short one. He's going to wrap this up.
Fellas, I apologize. I've never done a triple call. I feel bad, but I'm going to finish my point. So what I was saying about one Mr. Paul Gunther and one...
First off, Pete, you don't have to apologize. You're always bringing the fire, and you're always landing the plane. You're landing more planes. There's planes landing all over the place. It's the greatest planes landing. We're landing so many planes. It's like LaGuardia Airport over here. There's so many planes landing.
That's right. Pete got those... flying them in.
Pete's got the semaphore right now. He's got the flags out. He's waving them in. He's like the crazed dude from the airplane movies out there on the tarmac. All right, here we go.
Do I like the move? Absolutely. And for everybody out here and this isn't like what I was saying,
Talking about Marinelli replacing Gunther.
isn't something you guys have brought up a lot, but a lot of other people have, be it Raiders Twitter, this, that, and the other thing about, oh, well, Paul Gunther's going to get replaced by Rod Marinelli, blah, blah, blah. I got something different for y'all. What if Rod Marinelli doesn't want to be a fucking defensive coordinator anymore? What if he just wants to be an advisor and, I don't know, like just coach defensive line and help out Paul Gunther? Here's my hot take of the year. And look, I've had to eat my balls on different takes before. I said that I wanted to get Derrick Henry, who got franchise tagged. I also said that, Brandon Parker was going to play guard, and I feel dumb for it. But I got this weird feeling that we're sticking with Paulie G, and Rod Marinelli's just there to help. You know what I mean? Because it seems as though one Mr. John Gruden loves Italian assistant coaches. That's my hot take for the day. Thanks for having me on, fellas. You play this, but my bad for calling in 3 times. Everybody stay safe. Be at peace. Love y'all.
That was a triple
great,
dipper
Pete.
right there. That was the first successful triple phone call ever. No need for apology, Pete. That was a great phone call. A lot of information in there. And actually feel pretty good. We've put out a lot of names, so it would be unfair to say that we're in lockstep, but some similar names flying around in there from Pete. So if Pete's on board, then I feel good about some of those names. I feel good about our draft strategy over here at the Pillaging Podcast.
And Pete knows his draft, man. That cat has studied, man. I remember talking with him a couple times, and it's like, damn, this guy knows his shit, man.
I always feel a little bit smarter and a little less stressed out after talking to Pete. So, Pete, man, once we get back here in the studio and things are back to normal again, we'll be calling you and having you on a lot more. Maybe you can help us break down the draft after it happens. That would be pretty cool. Pete's he's a relatively fresh face to the podcast, but has cemented himself as a fixture, as a caller on the show. So again, Nesty Award winner, Mr. Nesty Time, Pillaging Pete, everybody. So thank you for that. And again, I didn't announce that we'd be taking calls this week, so Pete is the only caller. I didn't announce it because I wasn't sure if it was going to work. I was just waiting to see if somebody was going to try, and then I would try to get you on the air. It looks like it's working. All systems are functional. So in addition to that, and I have to apologize to IR Johnny, who wanted to call in and talk about Tua today. I told him we wouldn't be taking live calls because I wasn't sure it was going to happen, and this is all on the fly. Again, those of you that found the live stream on YouTube, you did so on the fly. There was no link posted ahead of time or anything like that. The Zoom generates the live feed on the spot. So, I would just say that I didn't want to try live calls, not knowing if it was gonna work or not. I didn't want to fall flat on our face here right in front of you guys. But that said, it looks like it will work. So we'll be bringing back the live caller segment next week. Now, we don't always get to the live calls, and there'll be a lot to talk about next week. But again, like we do every week, we're going to try our damnedest to get some of you guys on the air, especially really interested to seeing or hearing some of your guys' post-draft reaction. So again, we will be trying to do the live draft show next Thursday, but we are planning definitely to meet for our regular time on Sunday evening. So those of you that are listening to the audio version of this now, you've never caught the live feed. I'll say it again. It's at 7 p.m.-ish Pacific Standard Time on YouTube. You just got to go to youtube.com/The Pillaging Podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe and enable the notifications so you do get the notification when we're live on air. We'd love to see you guys and interact with you in the chat. So that'd be great. We always average, a couple fresh faces in the chat every week, and it's always good to see a fresh face in there as well as it is to see the longtime pillagers in there. So we always welcome all newcomers. Don't be shy. Don't be scared. Even if you just want to come on to lurk. I feel like it's a different vibe on the live show. So come check it out. We definitely encourage you. And those of you that are listening that want to donate to the show, again, you could donate in the YouTube chat or by hitting the little cash icon in the comment box. But if not, if YouTube's not your thing, paypal.me/PJ4F if you want to send us a couple bucks, buy Shay a beer, buy Bobby and Kane a beer, or help pay for our subscription to Libsyn and right now Zoom as well. So that helps get everything out there. So I just want to say thank you, and we appreciate all of that. So that's our caller segment. Now, I mentioned we're working on some new music. We got a couple minutes left here. If you guys want to hear a sneak peek of that, let me know in the chat. Maybe I'll give you guys a sneak peek. I'm not going to give you the full thing, but maybe a taste. We'll see. If you guys want it, I'm not going to just show it off.
You were talking about fresh faces, Kenny. There's a fresh face in there, Walt Fasolis Jr. He's actually the one who said that Concordia is in Portland. So there you go.
Okay.
See,
All right.
the fresh faces is already contributing to the chat and to the pod as well.
That's what's up.
Walt's actually been in there before. So Walt's actually been here before.
Oh
But
snap! Okay, cool.
I do see a couple new names in there though. I see Quinn Mesmer. I'm not sure I recognize that from the chat. So welcome, Quinn. But just due to your comments, I can see that you're not new to the show. So welcome to the YouTube chat. And if this isn't your first time in the chat, then fuck me for giving a shit. I don't know. I'm trying over here, guys.
Hey, I want to say, let me say something real quick before we get off the well, we did wrap up the running back subject, but we forgot to mention Isaiah Crowell. What are we doing with Isaiah Crowell? Because if we get a healthy Isaiah Crowell back, there will be no need to draft a running back. He will spell Josh Jacobs.
Now is Crowell still under contract? However,
I believe
he was on a 1-year contract. I believe when we brought him in.
Was he?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so he's a free agent because I haven't heard anything about him. So thinking of running backs, he was brought here to be a big part of the backfield. So that's probably why we didn't have somebody to spell Josh.
Yeah, I'm looking at on Pro Football Reference right now, and he's not linked to any team on there right now. In fact, his profile picture, he still has him in some Jets gear. Update your shit, PFR. Damn. But yeah, that's what you were saying earlier, Shay, right? That was a 1-year contract for him.
Yeah, that's what I assumed, that he was on a 1-year contract. But I mean, honestly, man, like this has been Crowell's second or third injury that takes him out of the season. Like I know he's had his issues, and he was drafted high and never panned out in other squads. So I think, unfortunately for Crowell, and there's nothing against the guy, but I think his time is done. I think his run, as far as the chance to be a cornerstone or at least a number 2 back in the NFL is past, man. Like he hasn't been able to stick it out for very long. I think the most successful season he had was right before he came to the Raiders with the Browns.
Yeah.
And that's not
the Jets. He was with the Jets.
Okay. He was with the Browns and then he went to the Jets, right?
Yeah. He was drafted by the Browns. He played there like 4 or 5 years, and then
on a very, very bad Browns team. Let's not forget 0-16.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And not to diminish Kane's point, but that's a great contingency plan if he were healthy and still in a contract. And Ruth says he thinks Crowell is actually signed by Seattle right now. So
there you go. Yeah. There you go.
But it looks like the chat, they want a little taste. I'll give you a small taste.
See what it tastes like.
See what it tastes like.
Fire.
I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to hear this, but we'll give it a shot. That's it. That's all you get. That's it. That's a taste right there. Che, you're muted right now.
Yeah. My bad. I have to, man. I have some background noise going on right now. I told you guys it was gonna get in. It's gonna get a little crazy over here. But it was cutting in and out for me. I don't know if you guys were getting the whole sound.
It cut in and out for me too.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was cut. So I don't know if you want to give them a little bit more of that back end, bruh. Just so they get a flavor.
Bro. Maybe I'll pipe it into the Ableton session next week. I'll give you guys a clear taste.
There you go.
See, that's how can you do it, bro? He just flashes you real quick and just shows you the good and just walks away.
Yeah.
It stays burned in your memory.
Bobby's got me in that raincoat. And by the way, correction. Quinn says he's here every Sunday, but can't always chime in. So my bad, Quinn. But just recognize your name right now. So for what it's worth, you've been mentioned.
Hey, but glad that you're here, bro.
Glad you're here, man. Glad you're chiming in, man. Gucci Collins up in the chat too. So that's a name I don't recognize either. So if you're not new here, my bad for not recognizing you earlier. But what's up, Gucci? But yeah, there's more to that track. So I'll give you some more of that a little bit later. Yeah, just the tip, Rolling Dub, just the tip. That's the game we all played. That's the game we all lost.
I'll do better. I'll do a better backdrop for y'all next time.
Oh.
I had some shit in mind today, so I'm still trying to put it together.
It's all good. We're keeping it casual, man. The backdrops are not a prerequisite.
Homeboy say buy Kane a backdrop.
Yeah. I do have an extra flag over here though, courtesy of Juice. So
shit, that's right. You do have those flags. Those old school flags that Bobby was talking about the other day that we used to use to try to cover up the whole studio.
Yeah.
Hey, for some of y'all out there, if y'all didn't hear me last week, I was saying the one thing that was keeping me busy, or a way of keeping myself occupied, was listening to those throwback episodes. Not just listening to, but watching them on YouTube, man, and seeing the fellers, man, with hair, with extra flags, with one flag. I was like, man, this is roots right here, bro. These guys
back when I had my wizard goatee, Kragan.
Straight out, man.
Black and white, like it's the 60s. Yeah, that's how we started, man. You guys that have been with us for a while, you've seen this podcast grow. And again, that's all your donations going to work. So it shows up. We don't pocket any of that money. It all goes right back. We are going to be working on a Raider/beer wall over here, so you guys can see some unfiltered looks at the Crow's Nest, but we want to spruce it up a little bit. Shout out to Murph, man. That guy's got one hell of a man cave. You know, the Murph's Man Cave Network, but if you ever watch the live stream, his room is pretty dope. And some of that memorabilia he's got, I got the same. I got some of the same autographs and photos and whatnot. So we want to kind of set up something similar, not to bite them, but just to kind of put some Raider stuff on display. We've got it scattered about in the house, but it's time to centralize it and put it here in the Crow's Nest where it all belongs. So we're working on that too. We got to do some cleaning around here, and that's what I'm working on right now. But one room at a time, y'all. One room at a time.
And shout out to that NWO flag that he has too in his man cave. When I seen that, I was like, man, this guy's cool as hell. They'd be having that old school fucking Wolfpack NWO flag, man. I was like, yeah, brought me back to my day.
Irish Raider says our first album was fire. Yeah. First album wasn't bad. Fellas, that's all I got here on my notes for this week. So unless you got anything else to add, I think it's a good time that maybe we sign off and keep it short and sweet.
Yeah. I'm with it, man.
It's all good.
You good? All right, guys. Well, that's it for this week's show. Tune in every week wherever podcasts are found. I'm Kenny Stapler, joined this week by
your boy Chick,
your boy Kane,
Bobby Wasabi.
Stay safe, everyone. Until next week, keep the wind in your sails and the rum in your mug, and pillage on, Raider Nation. We out here.
Peace.
Peace.
Raiders.
Like a freight train bombing, you're blowing the town. Like a diesel motor, you never shut down. With your pistons pumping, you're mowing them down. It's a sight to see. They all lay their money down. When you're gone, hell, you ain't acting right. When you're gone, I can still see your eyes. When you're gone, this'll be my last goodbye. When you're gone, gone. When the sky is gray and the night sets in, it's your cue to do it all again. Until the next time I hear your name, or right beside you now, my thoughts to remain. When you're gone, I'll be missing you. When you're gone, mama, I can still see your eyes. When you're gone, mama, this'll be my last goodbye. When you're gone,